I'm Suzy.
And I'm Lisa, and this is the Coaching Cast. We're the no-nonsense podcast chatting about the things impacting you at work right now, helping you to survive and thrive in today's workplace.
We discuss different topics each episode, sharing our ideas, hints, and top tips from our experiences of working in the corporate world, running our own businesses, and also being qualified coaches. We also try to have a few laughs along the way too. Well, because taking us on Tuesday this late, it's just boring. We hope you enjoy listening. In today's episode, we have a very special guest joining us, Victoria Haydn, and we're going to be talking to her about the topic of personal confidence and her story and work around that subject. So stay with us and enjoy. Victoria Haydn worked for one of the biggest brands in global sport, Manchester City Football Club, as a professional club photographer for over 10 years, travelling the world and capturing some iconic moments and memories for the players and club, and at one time was the only female club photographer in the Premier League. In 2022, she decided to step into self-employment and share that knowledge with the world, and is now a personal branding photographer, helping businesses and female business owners elevate their own brand with photography. Victoria is here today to chat with Lisa and I about her own experiences of personal confidence, and also how her work now helps elevate others' confidence with stunning photography. Victoria, welcome to the Coaching Cast.
Thank you so much. What a nice introduction. Thank you so much. That was really, really lovely. I'm like, wow, did I do that?
You sure did. Take it. Absolutely. Well, look, we're super excited to talk to you today about your story, which we're going to come on to in a second, but also around the topic of, personal and self-confidence, which Lisa and I are big champions of. We have our own stories and experiences around our own personal self-confidence. And actually, it's a topic we've not covered yet on the podcast in our 4 years of recording. So, this is really crucial in the sense of bringing this conversation to our listeners today. So thanks for joining us. I can't wait. And we're going to get into it now. So, let's start. We have to start with me asking you, please tell us a little bit more about your journey and how you got into photography in the first place.
Well, I'm going to take you right back. So my kind of experience started when growing up, I wanted to be a vet. I loved cute animals. It was completely not what I'm doing now, but I loved animals, and I thought, I can do this as a career. I'm going to snuggle cute animals all day and make them better. But it turned out I actually really hated science. Fair enough. Didn't really make sense to do that. So I actually took A-levels in biology, chemistry and physics. And then I had to do maths as well to keep up with the physics kind of A-level, which is it was just really intense. So I did it for the first year, and I didn't do amazing in my exams. And I don't know I'm not sure you're aware, but to be a vet or a doctor or anything medicine, you've kind of got to be straight A's. And you get 1 B, then that's kind of okay. But they said, to jump up such a big step from the grades that I got, and you know what I thought? I'm not really enjoying it. So I decided that I was just going to leave and go back to college and just do something that I loved. I was like, do you know what? I'm just going to go and enjoy myself, because it's been intense the past 12 months. So I went back to college and I did art and design, and I just fell in love with everything. Like even, especially the darkroom. But because I did a BTEC, it meant that I could do bits of textiles, graphics, photography, lots of different things. And then when it came to photography, I thought, I love this so much. Like in the darkroom with all the chemicals and doing all your own film and things, I just thought it was really nice. So I started on my journey into photography education. So I did that, and then I did it was Blackpool College, but I did a degree. And I think the reason for doing that, I was thinking this before I came on this call, and I do think it was about confidence. I think I went to college to do a degree because I was not confident, and I didn't think that I could get a job straight out of college. I thought people would think that I was young, inexperienced, they wouldn't pay me, which is so funny because that's a narrative that I built up in my head. So
yeah,
that was just a flashback that I got this morning. But yeah, and then I went to college and I graduated and, with flying colours, and I just loved it. I spent 3 years in Blackpool. So that's like a photographer's dream because, it can be bleak in the winter and cold. But great photography projects. So I graduated there, and then I thought, right, I'm going to be a photographer, but I have no money. I'm a student with a big student loan. So I started working as a waitress in a town, South Manchester. And I just thought, you know what, I'm going to work as much as I possibly can, every shift, like every day shift, every night shift. And the restaurant that I worked in did like beautiful small plates and then turned into a cocktail bar at night. So I would start my shift at like 12 lunchtime and I wouldn't finish till like 5 a.m. But I was like, do you know what? I need these cameras. These are not cheap. So that's what I did. And then I think working so many shifts gave me the opportunity to meet so many different people from different walks of life and different circles. And it was just kind of like one Sunday at lunchtime, and I served these two guys, and they said, "Oh, we've not seen you here before." And I said, "Really? I've been here all the time. I'm here all the time. I'm saving up for camera equipment." It was a little bit of kind of a sliding doors moment, really, when they said, we're the Man United photographers and we've just put out a job that we need a technician to come and edit all of our pictures for us. So I said, oh my God, I've never watched football before, ever. Like, I don't know anything about football. And they just said, well, do you know what? That's probably a good thing. If you don't mind sitting in the rain, why don't you come and give it a go? So I did. So then it happened just like that. So that's how I got into football.
Wow, amazing.
And then it's kind of like sliding doors moment. I thought I would be photographing babies and again cute things, weddings, but no, I was sat in the rain every single day. So then I worked at Old Trafford and all the United games for about 2 years. I worked with the photographers. Used to get paid like per game, like cash in hand per game, and just to edit for them. But I didn't get to take any pictures whilst I was at United, but it was brilliant because I learned what the press wanted. So I knew the difference between like the Telegraph wanted something different to the Sun and, all these different kind of newspapers. So that was fascinating for me. But then after 2 years, I did think, I really want to take the pictures. I really wanted to get in there and be the one kind of at the goal end, watching the goals, watching the celebrations and capturing it. So a job came up at Man City. I thought, this is the only place that I can move to, really, because I've been at United. I'm like, where else? It's buzzy and it's fun. I'm like, where else do I go? And it is funny, like even working at United, like I knew nothing. I remember on one of my first games, photographers said, can you send a picture of Rio to the whoever to the Getty Image desk? I said, yeah, I'll send a picture. So I run back to the room and I'm looking through all these pictures and I'm looking on the back of the shirts. And I'm like, there's no Rio. I don't know who Rio is. And I'm like, what's going on? It's like Rio Ferdinand, obviously. But at the time, I was literally like, there's no Rio on the back of the shirt. I don't understand. So yeah, I obviously like on a scale, like huge. So I was like on Google trying to get signal. But I had so much to learn. But I was like, do you know what? This is just so much fun. So I applied at City for like a journalist job. Like I would never have got that job. I'm not a writer. But I just thought, do you know what? Like if I can just get there and show them how passionate I am about it. Yeah. And it paid off. So I got an interview. And they actually said, we do not know how you've ended up here. I was like in front of the editor-in-chief, like head of comms, all these amazing people in this room. And I emailed them all after. I just said, I appreciate I wasn't right for the job, but if anything comes up in the photography department, please give me the opportunity for working, to work with you because you're really inspirational and love what you're doing with the club. And then I got a call 6 weeks later and they said, look, about that email, if we did an internship, would you apply for it? And I said, yeah. And that's kind of how it all started, and then I got the job at Man City as the intern. So yeah, sorry, I hope that's like summarised everything.
It's amazing. No, it's like the most incredible story. I love the serendipitous moments of like being in the right place at the right time, and like you said though, there is the element of like being in the right place at the right time, but I don't necessarily always believe that, because I think that you should credit yourself for making the choices that you did to be in that place at that time. So the fact that you were saying, you know, I took the job because my dream was to buy the equipment to become a photographer. So I found the right job for me and I worked every hour I could, so that you were therefore there because you chose to be there, and you obviously had the right attitude, because, you know, I'm sure those guys wouldn't have approached just anyone and said, oh, by the way, we've got a job. So I think, you know, clearly you had the openness and the approachability, and there was something about you that they were keen to engage with you. But I just love that. But I think that's a credit to you, I think.
Definitely. I agree. Here, for sure. And also, it's a captivating story, and I think
it's so interesting. I'm just like gobsmacked. I was like,
and you know, I think you put yourself there right and center in it, because it was something, you know, you were saving up for those cameras because you loved it. That's what you wanted to do. You knew that. You trained to, you know, do that, and you'd brought yourself and, you know, a confident version of you into that place where you were just openly talking to people about what you did and why you were doing it and all of that stuff, you know, really openly and authentically. And I think we should do more of that sometimes, and then totally. Who knows where it takes us.
Yeah, especially that, like, applying for a job that actually even you knew, you were like, it's not the job I want, and I don't know I'm the right person, I can do it, but at least it gets me an audience with the people. And I don't think we do that enough. That's definitely something that I think as women we're really bad at, that we feel that we have to tick every single box on a job opportunity to even stand a chance of getting it. So therefore we won't even put ourselves forward for it if we don't think we're 100% appropriate. And I think that means we like shut ourselves out of loads of things because of that. And I just, I think about that often, that actually you should just go for it and let those who are recruiting the job make that decision for you. Don't make it for them.
Yeah, I definitely think that is, I feel like I've become more fearful over the years. I look back and I'm like, what was I doing? I went for a job. Like, and it's like at uni they were like, you're very dyslexic, and like all that, you know, all these, and it's fine, you know, journalists are dyslexic and that's fine, but it was another hurdle, and I was like, what am I doing in this interview? Like, but yeah, and I do think it comes like, it's like my fear factor is definitely like developed over. I'm like, oh, I wouldn't apply for that now, and I wouldn't do that now, and it's like,
I'm exactly
you kind of put yourself,
I'm exactly so. I've definitely become more fearful as I've got older. I'm hoping I'm going to get to a tipping point where it goes the other way, because I keep following a lot of women in their 50s and 60s, and their attitude to life now is, I don't give a shit about it and about anyone and what they think and who cares. And I'm like, if that's what's next, I'm looking forward to it, because I'm not there yet, and I'm hoping that'll be like a full circle moment, because in my 20s I don't think I thought as much about what I think about now. It's just so I'm looking forward to that. There you go, that's a reason to get older. They don't give a shit, but
I'm also waiting for that. I can't wait for that too.
and me over here. It's a full house.
Yeah.
So, you know, look, you spent, as I said in the intro, you know, over 10 years at Man City, traveling the world, photographing, you know, the players, representing the club, and getting some, I'm sure, some pretty iconic and memorable shots. You were the first ever female club photographer in the Premier League. I want to touch upon that now. So, you know, what was that experience like, especially, I imagine, in quite a male-dominated space? Talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so there are photographers that work as freelancers across the board, which is amazing. And I do think there has been a rise over more recent years of women coming through, which is just the best thing to see, kind of new graduates on the touchline. And I'm like, this is amazing. You know, men, women, you know, everybody. It is becoming way more inclusive. But when I was, you know, it depends which kind of teams are in the league, because they've all got a club photographer. I'll say that, most of them, one or two. And there was a few seasons where I was the only club photographer. So you travel with the team. So it's just very, very intense. So every Champions League game that they're at, which is every Tuesday night, or midweek games, every time away, if you're going to Southampton, Barcelona, it's you become kind of with them and part of the furniture, and it is just a male, dominated kind of space, and I think it has been for quite a long time. But I mean, I didn't actually notice it, if I'm completely honest, until we went to like a pre-season. Usually what happens is at the beginning of each season, to get the players prepped, they will fly to a hot country to get them ready. It's better for them to train, it helps the muscles and lots of other things. It's also in the sunshine and it's great.
I can get on board with that. as a kind of pre-prep to a bit of coaching, I could get on board with that as a formula.
We should do that. We should do that. Yeah, we should implement that. So yeah, we flew to Croatia with the kind of under 21s or under 18s at the time, and the academy. And all the names came back from the list, and I kind of checked off, and I didn't really realise till we were going to the airport that there was 75 names on there, and I was the only female flying. And I think that was probably one of the first times that I thought, oh, I just like realised it. And it's not that I would ever need anyone there, or it's just that support system. You kind of like, it's nice sometimes to have another woman with you or another girl there, just in case, it's just nice to have. But again, it was fine traveling, and I just didn't really notice it till, a lot later on. Really, I'd been there about 2 years, and then I kind of realised it. But I actually think that in terms of confidence and being the only woman, I kind of had a lot of faith in my ability. So it kind of didn't come down to me being like a girl on the touchline. It was just very much like, I have trained really hard to be good at this, and I've been practicing for a really long time. And I kind of just didn't make it a thing, if that makes sense.
It does. You were the best person for the job based on your experiences, your skills. And so it didn't matter. Yeah, I can totally get that. Yeah.
But I think sometimes it was, you are, but like a sports photography kind of historically goes back, they are kind of like a certain demographic, and they are kind of a little bit older, and it's a bit male dominated. So when you're like the young girl on the scene, it is a little bit kind of intimidating, the situation. The people aren't, but they're all so lovely, and I had a really good time with all of them, and they do kind of look out for each other, especially if you've got any technology issues or but it's nice to see that it's changing, and there's so many amazing young photographers coming through. It's so exciting. Like, all the awards are just filled with women in sport as well, which is just ace.
Brilliant. I love that. And I think you touched upon it there about kind of having that network around you when you were kind of in that environment. But photographing some of the world's top athletes must have been intense. And I suppose, you can't help but think, how did you sustain your confidence ongoing in that environment? Were there ever any times where the kind of environment you were in, the people you were with, who were literally elite in what they did and at the top of their game, literally, took over in terms of, wow, I can't believe I'm here. I'm should I be here? Impacting your own belief about your confidence, or was it just part of what you knew and you'd always been in this space, and actually, absolutely, I knew I was the right person to be here and to be doing this? So, yeah, tell us a little bit more about kind of how that whole dynamic played out for you.
I mean, I was absolutely petrified at every stage.
Okay.
So no, it was definitely, I think I navigated through it. Every year there was a new challenge and like a new trophy or a new location or there was kind of like, there's 2 or 3 kind of incidents, but just like situations where I thought, oh my God. I remember the women's team, we kind of relaunched the women's team in Man City, and I was part of their relaunch, which was just so like, it was amazing. And and I followed them every single game, and they're just, what an amazing group of women to be around, like, part of it. It's just amazing, and you're part of one of them as well. So yeah, I went to every game for maybe, I think it was like 2 full seasons, and then they won their first bit of silverware, the Continental Cup. And it's so hard to remove yourself from every emotion, because as soon as that goal went in, the final whistle went, and obviously everyone's crying, like with the emotion. He's just like, and I'm trying to do my job, and my eyes are like filling up with tears of like pure like happiness. And I'm like, no, I have to do my job and take the pictures, because obviously that's my job. So yeah, and I think in terms of confidence, I'm still nervous. I'm like, I have to get this. You don't get a second chance. But that's with everything, I think, in sport, even to, the goal, the celebration, the incidents, the red cards, injuries even. And I think for me, it is just telling the story of the players' lives more than anything. And I have to always remember they are the best athletes in the world. They are, undoubtedly, like photographing Sergio Aguero and like all these, amazing players. But ultimately, I just have to remember that they go home to their little dog and their kids, and they are just like me and you. Like, any conversation that I would ever have with them would honestly be never about football, because, again, I'm not from the football world, and the only thing that I can communicate with them is about, the nice biscuits that they eat, and like genuinely like things like me and you, because I'm like, you have to find that common ground, but also you can't. They know so much more about football than I ever will. It's not. I can't even meet them there. So I think for me, it was just making sure that I could always kind of document them as normal as possible, so that then the fans felt closer to them. But yeah, I think certain bits were scary. I remember there was a photo shoot to launch a brand new kit, and they said, right, we're going to put, it was like five players on the Great Wall of China, and we're going to do the shoot there that day, and these shots are going to go and launch this kit. And oh my god, I was so nervous. The whole of the Great Wall of China started getting covered in mist, so you couldn't see a thing.
Oh my like, goodness.
No, not today. Like, of all of the days, the next day. So that was really scary, but thankfully it all worked, and that was really good. Also, you come back to Manchester and then see it, on big billboards in Manchester, and it's such a proud moment. And I think that each one of those just gives you the confidence to be like, oh, well, I did that one, so I can do this one. And it's like that, and it's that self-belief, I think, and it is. And your confidence does take a knock sometimes. I did some shoots, I'm like, oh my god, I would never do that again. But again, you have the confidence to not do that again, in a way. Like you learn as you go. So it was definitely like confidence has always been up and down for me, especially the last kind of like 10, 12 years.
Yeah, absolutely. I can relate to that as well. I've talked about it before on the podcast. I think we all go on our own journey of self-confidence a lot, and there's peaks and there's, lower points as well. That's natural and actually to be expected. And I think the key thing is about how you build your toolkit, you build your self-knowledge, you build your understanding and your learning around getting yourself out of that maybe kind of lower point, back up onto the other side, and use that to evolve you and your self-belief, that confidence you have in yourself, because actually it's the movement from getting from that low point back up over the hill to on the other side, that is what often we're talking about there, because that's where you believe that you can move forward.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I also think I agree with everything you said. I think it is those small moments, and there have been some really kind of like hairy moments, again, with things that don't always go your way, or you're a bit like, no, it's absolutely fine, everything's fine. I think an element of my career, I don't know if anyone else can relate, but is kind of pretending to be confident. But in that then comes the confidence, because you're like, no, I've just got to pretend everything's okay. I've just got to get through this little bit. I know I can pretend everything's okay, but actually what you're doing is you are being confident in your actions. So no one knows that there's a nervousness there, because you're pretending to be confident. So you are confident to everybody else. So I think I think about that all the time. I'm like, just pretend you know what you're doing.
Act as if. Act as if you are confident. I think confidence is interesting on so many levels, but I think often those of us who feel the least confident are perceived by others to be the most. So I always think confidence is a feeling that you have internally, and it's often not something that anyone else is even picking up on. I also think, I mean, we're really going to go around in circles here, so I'm not going to land on this for too long. I also think those of us who are that aware of our own confidence and therefore feel the dips are actually the most confident, because we're that in tune with it. I think we're that connected to it. So we feel it so strongly. We know when it's there and we know when it definitely isn't. And that's like takes a lot of self-awareness. But I always say the most confident people, those who say that they're not confident are the most confident people, because those who actually are not confident would never dream of saying that.
Yeah, true, actually.
Because it takes confidence to come out and say, I don't feel that confident today. But you only say that if you actually are.
To be vulnerable.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, I mean, I probably, this is a lot of me and my self-talk, by the way, because as Suzy knows better than most, my confidence is I'm on a daily roller coaster with it usually, and it's got worse as I've got older. So talking about that fear factor, so a lot of what I chat about is a lot of my own self-talk on the bad days to try and pick myself back up again. But I do believe it at the same time. And it's what I work on with all my clients and their confidence as well. The irony, we work with those who we probably can relate to the most. But yeah, I think it's fascinating in the field of what you do, especially your time in sports photography, is the fact that actually I talk a lot about confidence in relation to control, and that often we feel our most confident when we feel like the most in control of what we're doing and what we're able to achieve, what we're able to deliver, that we have autonomy, we can make our own decisions, therefore we can essentially support the destiny that we're trying to reach. And in the field of what you were doing, literally, you're dealing with so many uncontrollable elements, because you're dealing with people totally unpredictable, especially in a sporting environment, because you've literally got no idea what they're going to do. I don't even know if they know what they're going to do in a sporting situation. You're dealing with weather, so like you mentioned the Great Wall of China, like there's literally nothing you can do about it. It's not like you can go hold back the fog because it's going to move and it'll do whatever it wants. Lighting, like especially when you're working outside, and I know you will have been working in sports stadiums, so there's light in that respect, but there's just so many things that are not actually within your control. You can only control yourself, the camera to some extent, although you mentioned tech issues, and I can't imagine what that must have been like in those moments when you're literally like, I've got to capture this, but it's literally you and the finger on the shutter and your eye, getting your eye in. And I think that's like, I find that fascinating in that way. And like keeping your cool, and as you said, like acting as if I am confident, but there's so many things you're processing all the time. I find that fascinating.
Yeah, and I think another thing about not really having the control is, and it happens now with like my clients, you never know what they're going through. So yes, you can't control even like the weather or anything, but they could turn up. It was the same with the players, they could turn up to a shoot. You have no idea what's going on in their life. Like they could have just been told that they're not playing for the next 6 months because they've got a bad injury, or they've just had something bad potentially could have come out in the press. So you are supposed to photograph 30 individual people in a fashion shoot, for example, or 30 players, and every single player is coming with potentially a different emotion, or they could have had a great day in the morning, and then you've got to try and calm them down. So like you have to kind of then project onto them the kind of what you want to create from the photo shoot. So yeah, that was always, but I think that that's probably why I ended up kind of transitioning, I think.
Yeah, so let's touch upon that now. So you transitioned, you moved from sports photography into personal brand photography, as you talked about before. So what inspired you to make that change then?
I think after kind of 10 years of doing the football, I never fell out of love with it, but I just felt like I needed a challenge. And I think that maybe I'm like, it's not hard enough. I want a challenge. Because I think so many people, and as I was kind of deciding whether to make that move or not, a lot of people said, oh my God, you should never leave. This is the best job in the world. Like people would kill for this job. And I understand that. And people that are football fans would absolutely kill for this job. But I think as a photographer and a creative, I wanted a little bit more of an artistic challenge, or I wanted to feel like I had more input into what I was doing. I mean, documenting the football club is incredible. And I told the story of the club for 10 years, and I feel so lucky that I was able to do that. But I think what I really loved doing was actually documenting the progress of each player and their career, and watching them come through the academy, and then scoring gold in the Champions League and things like that. So the stories for me were always the most important thing that I did with any kind of section of my career. But I think I felt like I just could help more people with what I'd learned in branding because of where I was sat in kind of the club structure. I was with the media team, so I understood how we could use images to create personal brands with players. When I first started at City, we didn't have Instagram, so that came, and then every single player needed their own personal brand, which was fascinating to be able to help with. And they had their own, boot sponsors and all these different things. So I just felt like I was ready for a change. I'm like, I need a new challenge. So I flipped and I was like, right, I photographed blokes for 10 years. I'm doing the girls, I'm doing the women. So I just like, but, and obviously like starting your own business is super, super scary, especially when you're so, it's convenient being in a club and as a photographer with a salary, that is very rare. A lot of photographers are freelancers. And so, yeah, it was a big jump, but I knew I was kind of like, do you know what? I am ready to move. So yeah, I did that, and it's so funny, isn't it? Looking at it, I'm like, oh, I should have done this sooner. Like, it's just amazing. Like, this network that I've got now, and I like this community of like female founders is genuinely incredible. Like, I don't know, there's not the words to describe it, but it just feels like, I don't know, there's like this gang of women out there that just want to do amazing things. I'm like, I belong here. This is fab.
Yeah, it's super inspiring to be around people with that energy. I think that also that belief in themselves and in their capabilities and in the value that they add. And I think it makes it easier as well to act as if, because you can see it in real term. Well, I certainly find that anyway. Like if I come across somebody, especially like a female founder who's, gone on to build and scale and sometimes exit businesses that are amazing and do amazing purposeful things, and I'm like in awe, which often happens quite frequently actually, and then I kind of tend to then not bring my own self-confidence into it. I'll kind of like shut down and be like, I'm not worthy to be in your presence, like you're so amazing, you've done all these amazing things. I start getting really small, and that's my own personal development that I need to work on. But equally, the flip side of that is that it allows me to see what acting as if can look like and mean for me, and what that behavior is, what that body language is, the way they talk about themselves and what they do, and mirroring that. And I find it really, really inspiring to be around, especially women like that. And seeing that come through, I imagine, in your work. So in your stunning photography, it must be so rewarding for you when you get to see some of the output of those shots and those shoots that you've organised and created with them. What's been the best kind of client reaction to some of the work that you've done?
I feel very honoured to do this, and it happens quite a lot that I'll be in the middle of a shoot and I'll say, oh my god, Sarah, look at this, you've got to see this one. And they're like, no, that's not me. And it's just like, and that happens quite frequently, and I feel really, that's for me why I do it. I'm like, yes, you are that amazing, yes, you are incredible, look at you, you're the business owner, and it could be a startup. I'm like, you're on the brink of this amazing project, and like this amazing kind of new future for yourself and your family. Or they might be having a new service, delivering a new service or anything, but whatever it is, I just want to show them the best versions of themselves. And I believe that having, the good images and the good experience, and also allowing them to feel confident in that situation and helping them with that. And I'm like, you look amazing. Yes. I'm like, okay, Beyonce, keep walking back, And I think it is about high energy. And like, I always feel as well, like every brand shoot that I do with any business owner is a celebration of where they're up to now and what they're about to do. So I'm always like, okay, what's happening this year? Are you doing a podcast? Are you doing guest speaking? Or are you taking a bit of time down? Or like, whatever it is, it's like your business to be proud of. And I want to document that and create images for you. So yeah, and I think the, confidence levels of people that do leave. And I always say like, look, you've got your hair and makeup done, or you look amazing. Like, go for lunch, go celebrate, because you want to leave on a high. So also when they get these pictures back, you're like, yes, I had such a great day. Yes, it was fun. And yes, it was scary. And I've not done a brand shoot before. And it's so scary putting yourself out there. But I think that is part of it as well, finding the right brand photographer for you, because everyone's got a good match, I think. And we're very fortunate that there's a lot of brand photographers now. So I think you've got to find that person that's going to be like your cheerleader, you know, that gets your vibe, understands your business, and takes time to understand you. Because ultimately, your personal brand, like if you're a service-based business or even a product-based business, you're the front and center. So like we need to show you in the best way. So yeah, I love it now. I just feel super, super lucky that I get to do it every day.
How do you get people or clients, you know, stepping in front of the camera? What I mean by that is I imagine confidence comes up around, you know, oh, I don't really like having my photo taken, or I'm not sure I feel confident to, you know, to strike a pose, for want of a better description. You know, how do you work with people's self-confidence to get them there in front of the camera, being themselves, feeling good? Like, what does that look like as part of that kind of customer, I suppose, experience with you?
I think a lot of it, and this has obviously been, I've kind of crafted the experience from learnings to make sure that everyone does feel safe. Like the worst thing for me is for someone to come to a shoot petrified. It's not great for anyone. It's not great for me or them. Like it's not a great experience. So it starts with the preparation, I think. I spend a lot of time planning out the outfits. All my clients send me their outfits on WhatsApp just so that I can give them a bit of guidance. Obviously you can get stylists if you want, but if you just want it to be me and you, I'm like, I'll give you feedback. I can tell you what looks good on camera. So that on the day there's no shocks. They know me and my camera. That's who's going to be there. And it can be really intimate and, you know, just a really gentle day and the celebration of you. So I think part of it is in the prep, but I'm always an open book. So on the shoot, I will always show the back of the camera to the clients. I'm like, okay, what do you think? I think you look amazing. Is there something on there that you don't like? Like, tell me. I have so many clients that say, and they don't need to feel this way whatsoever, but I don't like my arms. I don't like the way my cheek is. And I don't like, you know, certain bits of me. But I'm like, brilliant, please tell me. And I will make sure that we are not zooming in on that part, for example.
Yeah.
Just to just give them more confidence and faith that like, I've got you. I've got you. I want you to use these pictures to help your brand grow and your business grow so you get more sales. So yeah, I think a lot of it is in the prep. But also, yeah, just feeling like you've got a friend on the day is massive.
Absolutely. I remember because I've had a personal brand shoot, and you know, I was working with a photographer, and I remember being nervous, like when I embarked on it. One, because it's, you know, it is an investment in me and in my business, but also secondly, I think being like, you know, I'm not really, you know, I'm not really like in front of the camera a lot. I say that I'm recording a podcast now, but you know what I mean, like often in my day-to-day life. And I remember feeling like knowing that I needed to find somebody who would make me feel comfortable and would, like you said, have your back and celebrate where I was, but also where I wanted to elevate my business to. And so that really resonates with me, and I think I went through a bit of a wobble for sure, and kind of this up and down piece of stepping in front of the camera and feeling, I suppose, confident, but also kind of again tapping into my self-belief that I should be stepping in front of that camera, and that I could do that and I should be doing that. I was enough to do that. You know, I'm not a professional model, but I didn't need to be. I needed to be Suzy, you know, the coach and sales expert. That's me, and that's my business. So yeah, I can imagine what a privilege it must be to see and navigate that client experience with those that you work with, based on my own experience of it. So yeah, love it. So right, what's next for you then? Because, you know, you talked a lot about, you know, your brand shoots, which I know are a big part of your work and what you do, but I also know you've got some exciting stuff in the pipeline. So what's next for you and your business?
Yeah, I think doing this is definitely right now like my calling. Like I love it, and like you said, watching business owners just being like, I can do this. Like, this is good, you know. And I've had clients before that have literally had like their mouths and bodies shaking with fear. And to try and calm that down and be part of the process, we can do it. Again, we work together and then it can feel safe in that space. But watching that transformation to the end, where she's like, you know, Mariah Carey at the end of it, or, you know, Beyonce. And it's quite, that's what I love. And I'm like, you, like you just said, like, you are enough. You provide an incredible service and you can help so many people. But this isn't actually, yes, it's about you, but it's also about what you can do to change other people's lives. Like you, Suzy and Lisa, both kind of helping other people. So I think people need to know that you exist and to do that. So yeah, I think I just love doing this. So I'm going to carry on doing this. This is going to be like my main job. I love doing the brand shoots. And then I also, I've tampered with the idea of creating a coaching course for business owners on visual assets and how to create the best visual assets at home. So if you don't want to have the full photo shoot, or if you're not ready for that investment because you're a new startup or whatever that is, I think there is definitely space to be guided into visuals, and that can be, you know, it can incorporate styling, where the window should be, even poses that could make you feel a bit more confident, or even just idea generation to be like, okay, I've got my laptop, how do I sit at a desk? What shall I film? Because ultimately, like, sometimes it you know, you've got like, I don't know how to do it or where to start. And I'm like, I think, so I'm developing it. It's a developing idea.
Sounds amazing.
Does sound amazing. I might
sign me up.
Yeah, absolutely. And we look, you know, for our listeners who listen to this, we'll put all Victoria's contact details in our show notes on our Instagram as well. So if you're looking at hearing this and thinking, oh, this is something I'm interested in, we'll direct you to Victoria 100%. And then you can kind of chat some more about it for sure. Okay, so what are your top tips then? So we ask all our guests who come on the coaching cast for their top tips for our listeners. So I suppose to kind of bring together what we've been talking about today, which is around, you know, your own story with self-confidence, and also that being so prominent in the work you did at Man City in the Premier League, and also now with your own business working with female business owners. What are your top tips for our listeners in developing their confidence linked to their personal brand?
So I think my first tip would be feel the fear and do it anyway. And I know Susan Jeff has said that, but I think feel the fear and do it anyway, because it's like you touched on it before, Lisa. It is that where you're kind of like act as if. So yes, it's scary, but do it anyway. I think that really has got me out of some sticky situations, and not just sticky situations, but just like being petrified, even like guest speaking, like podcasts and Zoom I absolutely love, but oh my god, stick me on a stage in front of like 3 people and I'm like, I'm a mess. So that's something that I'm working on. Yeah, but like I said last year, I was like, I'm gonna say yes to every speaker, you know, request that comes along. I'm like, yes, I'm gonna be the guest speaker. So I like pushed boundaries last year, which was great, and I was petrified. I was like on stage with like 800 people, like presenting awards and things, and I was like, I was petrified. Thank you. Amazing. I was petrified, but I am like, again, yeah, it's like just be scared, but like that's where the magic happens. And
growth doesn't happen in our comfort zones. Growth doesn't happen there. Growth happens in the uncomfortable spaces.
Absolutely. And we appreciate that you said yes to us.
No, I love you guys. Yeah, and I think what I would say is kind of like remove like your own narrative from the story. Like, what would you do if you had no fear? Going back to it, like feel the fear. What would you do if you had no fear? Because I think for me, you kind of cap yourself when you get a bit scared, or and again it comes down to like people pleasing, imposter syndrome, and all these things that I know you've touched on before in other kind of conversations. But yeah, I think imposter syndrome is like a big thing. But again, I kind of say this like to my sister about my family, like nobody remembers what anyone, when you're kind of feeling like really vulnerable, no one remembers what anyone's wearing around a pool. Nobody. You don't remember what size they are, what colour hair they are. You literally remember what, no one. I can't think of anyone around a pool at all. So it's kind of like, no one's going to remember if you're having a bad hair day, or no one's going to remember if you've got a spot on your chin. Like, it's what they're going to remember is what I do. And also, if they do remember that, then we don't, different circles and things. I just think that if
you don't want to hang around with them.
yeah. And I just think, like, I do, like, if I see, on Instagram and in social media, I'm like, oh, that's Sarah. She does reflexology. I need to book in. That's the first thing I think about. I don't think about what she's wearing or if she's not got as curly hair as she had the other day. Like, it's just not that. It's more a visibility thing. So I think, kind of, I don't know what my top tip is, but I think just kind of push yourself to be more visible. I think no one's judging you. That always helps me. I just think,
Love that.
And when coming on to my third kind of top tip is tell stories within your personal branding, which can make it feel not just exactly about you and your services, because some people get a little bit kind of icky and feeling bad about sales and selling. But if you can just tell your story, even about why you're doing it, like if you're a masseuse, like how did you end up here? And, do you use organic towels, or do you use, whatever that is? There's somebody out there that is really attracted to you and your services. So I think telling stories in personal brand is a really lovely way to be visible, but without kind of saying, I am this, I am that, which can be really scary for some people. I hope that's okay for top 3 tips.
Absolutely. I love it. That last one around telling stories, we've actually done a whole episode on storytelling and the power of storytelling. But I think it, just to kind of build off your point there, I think using it within your personal branding is such an important point, and also using it to build connection with your audience. Well, it's been amazing, Victoria. I could talk to you for another probably a couple of hours. So thank you so much for joining us today on the Coaching Cast. It's been an absolute joy to chat to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. It's been so nice to meet you in person and get on this call and have the chat. I'm a huge fan of yours, so thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, Victoria. Honestly, it's been lovely. So lovely to have you here. And I second what Suzy says. We need more time. We'll have to do another episode. I'll do a follow-up. But yeah, thank you so much for being here with us.
We are now coming to the end of today's episode, where we've been discussing personal confidence in front and also behind the camera with Victoria Haydn. So, Victoria's top tips from today's episode are: number 1, and I love this one actually, feel the fear and do it anyway. So, act as if you're already there, doing it, and bringing your full confident self to whatever situation that you're working towards, wanting to be in, being in front of the camera, whatever it might be. Act as if you're already there and see what happens and how that elevates your confidence. Number 2, what would you do if you had no fear? Also love this one, actually, as a bit of a question to pose yourself. So what would you do if there was nothing holding you back, or if you weren't getting in your own way? What would you do? And number 3, top tip, is try and tell stories, especially if you're a business owner, within your personal branding. So within, the interactions and content that you're sharing with your audience, your customers, your clients, and even if you aren't a business owner and you're working in an organization, you can absolutely still share stories, because that will help you create and build your personal brand within the organization as well. And people love stories, as we've discussed. And remember, we have a whole episode on storytelling back from 2024, so make sure you go and check that out as well. Do not worry though if you can't remember all of those top tips. They will be on our Instagram page at the Coaching Cast this week, following the episode going out.
We will have another new episode for you next month in early March, where we will be revisiting the topic we wanted to bring you in January. But unfortunately, Suze lost her voice. Never happened before to either of us. Totally mad, which is quite incredible because it's 4 years now of the coaching cast, and neither of us have ever lost our voice during that time. So we are going to make sure that you don't miss that episode that we wanted to bring you. So we will be issuing it in March instead with full vocal cord capability. And that's going to be and that's going to be around the topic of why we should absolutely accept and receive recognition when it comes our way. So that's what we'll be bringing to you in March. CBBs, we know you're super busy, but it would mean the world to us if you could rate, review, and subscribe to the Coaching Cast wherever you listen. It takes seconds and it's free to do. Or perhaps tell one person in your life who you think the podcast might help. So a colleague, a friend, a family member. Pass it on, send them a link or a specific episode if there's one that you really think will speak to them. It really helps us to grow the visibility of this podcast and enable more people to come and listen to us.
Yeah, thank you for doing that. So before we sign off, we like to end each episode of the Coaching Cast with our personal song recommendation, giving you energy and motivation as you launch into the next part of your working day. It's my choice this week, and I have chosen Fred Again, Delilah, absolute banger. And actually, I feel like it suits the theme of this episode, actually, and just kind of getting you in an elevated space, feeling good, feeling energized. Yeah, I think it kind of suits the vibe of where we're going with this episode for sure. Okay, so see you next month, CVBs, and remember, you've got this.